Birth of the Pyrenees. At this time, the African continent moved north and collided with Europe. Upon contact, a large bulge of material emerges from the surface of the Earth. This is the birth of the Pyrenees, one of the youngest mountains on the planet. The fortified castle, monument to the history of Lourdes. Of the medieval fortified town, the Garnavy Tower and the fortified castle remain the last vestiges of the defences of Lourdes. The plan and walls of the castle bear witness to the evolution of military architecture from the Middle Ages to the present day. It was classified as a historic monument in 1995. The Roman city, the small people of Aquitaine shepherds who occupied the valleys between Garonne and Ocean resisted Caesar's troops for a long time. The itinerary of Antoninus, a road guide from the 3rd century, indicates for each road the list of towns crossed and the distance between them. He mentions on the Roman road in Piedmont, which goes from Toulouse to Bordeaux, the Oppidum Novum, a fortified site which would only take the name Lourdes a few centuries later. With the decline of the Roman Empire, so-called barbarian peoples, Vandals, Visigoths, Franks, successively occupied the city and its first fort from the 5th to the 7th century. The small town is a must-stop with its ford crossing, its large market and its rocky peak. The fortified castle, residence of the Counts of Bigorre. Charlemagne tries to conquer the small Pyrenean kingdoms. Beaten at Roncevaux, he did not succeed. In 778, Charlemagne besieged the fortress occupied by Saracens. Legend has it that an eagle having dropped a trout at the foot of Murat, leader of the Saracens, he offered it to Charlemagne to make him believe that the castle was still well stocked with food. An hour and a half. The Bishop of Puy-en-Velay, companion of Charlemagne, made this proposal to Murat: since he does not want to surrender to the king, let him at least surrender himself to the Virgin. Murat accepts, receives baptism under the name Lourdes and leaves on pilgrimage with his troop. The castle, until then called Marambol, took the name of Lourdes, who gave its name to the town of Lourdes. The impregnable fortress. In the 11th and 12th centuries, the castle entered history. It was the main residence of the Count of Bigorre, vassal of the Duke of Gascony. Built at the top of the rocky peak, it is defended by a system of enclosures which makes it almost impregnable. From the 13th century, its strategic position explained the numerous surrounding its possession. The kings of Aragon, England, France, and Navarre coveted it. The military leaders besiege it, and each time fall at the foot of the rock. The companions of Lourdes and Gaston Phoebus. In the 14th century, the 100 Years' War placed the castle under English domination. The companions of Lourdes, 39 mercenaries, ransomed Bigorre and shared the spoils of their plunder with the Black Prince, son of the King of England. They are commanded by Pierre and Jean de Béarn, cousins of Gaston Phoebus, Grand Prince of the Pyrenees. This situation will last 46 years. The fortress finds its definitive extension with the construction of the keep, which dominates 3 other towers. The Bastille of the Pyrenees. From the end of the 17th century, the king imprisoned people considered dangerous, or opponents in the castle, often without trial, by letter of cachet. Sufficiently far from Paris and Versailles, the castle was a very practical prison for the king. Vauban's project. Damaged by attacks and earthquakes, requiring adaptation to new weapons, the fortress deserves renovation. The architect Jerome Weiss completely redesigned it, removing the medieval towers with the exception of the keep. In 1685, the great royal architect Vauban visited the fort and proposed improvements which were partially carried out later. Castle Museum. In 1921, the Pyrenees Museum was created under the leadership of Louis and Margolin Le Bondidier, and was housed within the walls of the fortress. They bring together collections on mountain life in the Pyrenees from the end of the 18th to the beginning of the 20th century. New City, the Marian City. In 1858, a teenager named Bernadette Marie Soubirous received 18 apparitions from the Virgin at the Massabielle cave. Recognized very early as a miracle by the Church, this event turned the history of Lourdes upside down. Around the sanctuaries and the water of the Gave a new town was created which acquired worldwide fame and became the main center of Christian pilgrimage.